Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you're watching us. It's 2:01 in Geneva, so we're going to get started to make sure that we keep within time. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to this online IRF Annual Conference 2023 under the theme Innovation for Better Mobility System. Our event will run for 2 days, so this afternoon and tomorrow morning. And if you move forward, the team is helping me. Yes, let me introduce myself. My name is Susanna Zamataro. I'm the Director General of the International Road Federation in Geneva, and it is my great pleasure to be your moderator for this initial part of the conference today. Before I give you more details on the program and how the session will unfold this afternoon, let me remind you some housekeeping rules. First of all, if you want to put forward some questions to the speakers, please use the question and answer function that you see in your Zoom navigation bar. Please use the chat just to introduce yourself or share information if you want. But if you want to really pose a question, use the question and answer, otherwise we will not see them. If you're specifically addressing a question to one of the speakers, say so right at the beginning. It will facilitate for us the task. I want to let you know as well that you can access a speaker's profile, the program, and links to a number of different resources, including our social media handles, by using the resources button that you should see on your navigation bar, Zoom navigation bar. If you're using social media, use please the hashtag IRF Annual Conference, hashtag IRF 75 years. And I think the team who's assisting will also be reminding you in the chat our social media handles. I want to take a few moments to thank our sponsors for today, the Northern Marmara Motorway and Road Trace, who with their support allow us to make this event freely available to everyone watching today. I want to also pay tribute to our partners, the Inter-American Development Bank and China Highway and Transportation Society, both supporting the event. Now, a little bit of an overview of how this afternoon will unfold. This is day one. We started, it's 2 o'clock in Geneva. We'll go through until 5:30 this afternoon. I will transit you in a few moments in the opening session. That will be followed by a first session where we'll look specifically at asset management and the intricacies of managing assets today. Then we will take a few moments to take a break and stretch our legs, but please be aware that the parallel session, which will be run entirely in Spanish, will start at 4:15 sharp. It's a session that we are organizing in collaboration with the Inter-American Development Bank. No panic, we will show on the screen and instructions, and it will guide you step by step for those of you who are interested in moving into that session. We will come back after the break and the after the parallel session, then again together for a final chat, a fireside chat with a guest. I won't say her name right now, and we'll take a few moments to wrap up the conference. So I will come back to this tricky passage of break and a session in Spanish. So session 2 on road pricing will start at 4:30 Geneva time, and the Spanish session with IEB will start at 4:15. Without further ado, let me show you as well and give you an overview of what will come up tomorrow. Tomorrow we start at 9 o'clock Geneva time. As you can see, we try to split the timing to make sure that we reach out to different communities in different time zones of the world. We'll start tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock sharp, and with a topic which is extremely important for our federation, safety. That will be followed by a dedicated session on ITS and big data, a short break, and another session entirely dedicated to the IRF Startup Label. We'll have a chance to listen to the finalists of this year, and you will be able to witness the announcement of the winner 2023. We'll conclude the day with a session on building blocks for connected and cooperative, connected and autonomous mobility, and then some final closing remarks and a special announcement for all of you. So we have a huge, quite a dense program ahead of us. I want to take a few seconds, and let me do it now because we usually do in the end, but I want to acknowledge my team who has really working and marching over the past days to deliver this event. I want to thank the members, of course, and our partners who make this possible, the moderators and also the speakers who have made their time and expertise available for all of you today and tomorrow, despite super busy agendas, because it seems like at the end of the year is particularly busy for all of us. Now, without further ado, let me transit you to the opening session. This opening session we have conceived in a way to really put some framework to this conversation, and so it's an overarching introductory session that will allow us then with the following with the rest of the program to deep dive into some of those key highlights. It is my great pleasure to welcome today for this session Anouar Benazouz, who is the president of the International Road Federation, Mr. Jos van Tome, who is the Article ITS Europe CEO, Ana Maria Pinto from the Inter-American Development Bank, Chief of the Transport Division. Unfortunately, I think Ana Maria has had a last-minute problem, and she will be Agustina Calatayud, who is the head of Transport and Research at the Inter-American Development Bank, will be stepping in. We have Robert Diesinger from UNECA, Chief of Energy Infrastructure and Service Section. Robert is being replaced as well by Placide Badji, and I will introduce him properly in a few moments. And last but not least, I have the great pleasure of welcoming Arianna Legovini from the World Bank. She's the Director of Development and Impact, DIME, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Arianna. Welcome as well. Thank you so much for all your time. I've spoken enough. I would like now to give the floor to my president, to our president, Mr. Anouar Benazouz. I'll invite him to the stage. I see you, Anouar. The floor is all yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Susanna. Good afternoon, good morning to all, and welcome also on my behalf to this IRF Annual Conference in what is a very special year for our federation as we celebrate its 75th anniversary. 75 years during which we have served the global membership spanning from public authorities to private sector, academia, and civil society, aligning our activities around three strategic pillars: knowledge and expertise sharing, building and facilitating connections, and working on policy and advocacy from Geneva to the world, thanks to the trustworthy relationship built with the United Nations, the multilateral development banks, just to name a few. Partnerships are the DNA of IRF and what we believe in. Hence, I am delighted for the opportunity of dialogue and exchange that this event is offering today. In line with the IRF's mission, we are making this conference freely accessible online to everyone to ensure that knowledge and expertise flows from one expert to the other, from one country to the other. This is not only a special year for the IRF, but this is also a very special week for the overall transport community. The General Assembly adopted last May a resolution entitled World Sustainable Transport Day. Through the resolution, the General Assembly declared the 26th of November as World Sustainable Transport Day and invited all member states, organizations of the United Nations system, international and regional organizations, and civil society to mark World Sustainable Transport Day by means of education and the holding of events aimed at enhancing the knowledge of the public on sustainable transport issues. We as IRF have embraced that call and have in fact decided to host our annual conference this week as a means of marking and celebrating the World Sustainable Transport Day. The challenges that our sector and overall our society are facing are known to all of you. Growing population and consequent rapid urbanization, climate change, equity and inclusion, the energy transition, which is and will continue to be a major driver of change. We are already seeing this. We are being confronted with the need to move away as fast as possible from fossil fuel and shift our systems toward electrification and renewable energy sources. The way we handle this transition will have huge impact on how our transportation systems will evolve and look like, and consequently, how our societies will function. We as a federation and as a sector, we have restated our firm commitment to reduce emissions in line with the Paris Agreement, and also stressed that the roads are central in the multimodal transport system and services that underpin the achievement of the SDGs. But how to move from will to action? In the realm of transportation, positive change is not only desirable, but imperative. Innovation today is no longer an option, but a must. But innovation, we qualify at the IRF as something that goes far beyond simply technological advances. And certainly innovation in transportation is not the result of solitary genius, but the collaborative effort of minds working in harmony. Governments, industries, and individuals must come together to create an ecosystem that fosters innovation. Let us encourage policies that support research and development, invest in sustainable infrastructure, and promote the adoption of cutting-edge technologies. The road to progress is built on the collective will to explore new horizons. Some of the tools that we need to meet current challenges are better governance and new processes that allow the agility we need, access to robust and reliable data, technology-driven solutions, unprecedented wave of digitalization applied to different aspects of our business, and finally, ensuring that we can count on professionals with the right set of skills. We at the IRF believe that mainstreaming digitalization into the road sector will be a real game changer for our industry. Digitalization can truly accelerate the pace and scale of change that is needed. And we are already seeing this, for example, with the use of BIM or artificial intelligence into planning, design, and construction of infrastructure. There, the benefits of digitalization are evident. Projects can be delivered more effectively and efficiently, and those benefits have been tested and quantified. We are able to optimize road projects and reduce carbon footprint by up to 50%, increase road lifespan by up to 3 times, lower the costs by a range between 15 and 30%, reduce maintenance costs by up to 70%. We need to leverage digital systems to support and drive innovation. Governments need to create the right conditions for that to happen. As we continue our journey into the future of transportation, let us remember that each revolution in transportation has not only shaped the way we move, but also transformed the world around us. We at the IRF invite everyone to embrace the spirit of innovation, for it is the fuel that propels us towards a future where transportation is not just a means to an end, but a gateway to new possibilities. This is the vision that is shaping our World Congress to be hosted on 15, 18, October 2024 in Istanbul. And I look forward to welcoming all of you to what promises to be a landmark event of our sector. Dear colleagues, the road ahead may be uncharted, but it is one we must traverse together. Let innovation be our compass and collaborations the engine pushing us towards our destination. A world where transportation transcends boundaries and paves the way for a more just and fulfilling future for everyone. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Anwar. And here we are. We stand together, and some of our partners are in fact here today with us, sharing the floor, sharing the stage for this event to really discuss solutions together for the future. And I'd like now to bring to the stage Joost van Tomme. So Joost, if you can turn on your cam, there you are. I can see you, and I hope you hear me well. Welcome, Joost, to the stage, and thank you so much. I have to share some behind the scenes information with our audience. There's a huge meeting going on in Brussels today, and huge meeting going on in Geneva as well for the next 2 days. And so I'm particularly grateful to all the speakers who are just stepping in and out important meetings to be with us today. Joost, Anwar has set a little bit the stage and the frame of this conversation, and of course we've been very vocal in that respect that for us innovation is much more than just technology, of course, but technology is fundamental, and I could not think of a better partner to really deep dive, a better partner than Ertico ITS Europe to really start deep diving into this issue of innovation and technology. Joost, you have the floor.
Thank you, grazie mille, and good afternoon, good morning, good evening, my dear President, my dear friend Anwar, and Secretary General, Director General Susanna, and the whole team in Geneva. First of all, thank you. A warm thank you for the understanding, the cooperation that we have, the gluing that we do for roads, to the road sector more in general, and also for having us in this conference here. I think it's an annual conference, and I will definitely come to your World Conference with my chairman next year in October. And happy to also to share a bit of our European or EMEA work on technology and digitalization. I think President Anwar, you were really vocal on spreading the news about digitalization, and actually this online meeting is the proof of that it works, digital. However, it has its limits as well. I would love to be in Geneva in a face-to-face meeting. I think everybody would love that. But that's reality, but it's also inclusive. We have a lot of people at the same time from all parts of the world. So allow me to share my screen to give a bit of insight on what we do here at Ertico ITS Europe, and more specifically on the digital technology component. I hope you can see my presentation, Susanna, correct?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. All right, I will.
Yes.
Okay, very good. This will be made available afterwards to all of you. So first, indeed, I'm the CEO of Ertico ITS Europe since January last year, having lived a long time in automotive industry, in telecommunications industry, in logistics, in postal industry, but also at the European level in associations and at the Commission. This nicely brings me into an ecosystem that is actually connecting the dots, as I say, between the roads, between vehicles, but also between smart institutions, smart cities, for example, and the whole data governance that we have. So I'm not a public company. I'm not a public institution. I'm not a private company. I'm actually a middle in between. We are a public-private partnership created by the European Commission in 1991. So that's 32 years ago, with 15 partners at the time, 15 members. Today we have 124 members, coming from all different sectors, but everything has one thing to do. It is about transport and mobility. These sectors, you see them on the right side of our slide here, and it is focusing on innovation, emerging technologies, making it happen, doing pioneering work with new things, and it's about smart, clean, safe mobility, obviously, but also inclusive mobility. Yeah, and that's a big new thing here in Europe. Inclusiveness, adaptability, everybody in the boat, everybody in the transport, I would say, that we have. So Very happy to have signed this with you, Susanna, 2 years ago now, with our agreement, almost 2 years, not yet 2 years, but we have good facilitation of each other's work, very complementary, and it's a capacity building in terms of knowledge, projects, and make it happen. And today is a good example, I believe, of this. Definitely what President Anwar mentioned, sustainability is our key leading topic in Europe. And this is not only about decarbonization of roads, it's about also, I would say, air quality. The whole discussion about Euro 7 that we have in Europe now, or about using transport in a more, in a better resilient way. Smart is, of course, about digitalization, but not only about digitalization, and resilient is an important factor. Everything will be interconnected. If you want it or not, it will be roads with traffic centers, with VMSs, with traffic signs, with lane markings, speed limits. All this will have digital twins and have already digital twins to some extent. Vehicles, as one of the users of the roads, they are capturing these digital twins through the cloud, and they are interpreting these signals. So the better you have your physical environment in order on the road, the better the captation will be by a machine, being an IoT device, being a vehicle, but also a smart bike, for example, in the micromobility. So all this is about digitalization, integration, collaboration. We should step out of each other's silos, and we should have de-siloification. Very different word. De-siloification means interoperability, means talking the same language, being able to talk to each other through the same communications technology and with the same metadata and data sets. And we still have a lot of work to do that. That's why with my team, very proud of my team, we have these, I would say, links with the ecosystem. I'm talking for Europe now, with definitely the European Commission day to day, with the CCAM partnership, with all these other partnerships that we have. We're also very much delving into urban mobility with all its facets about pedestrianization, about sustainability in cities, livable cities. How can technology, how can regulation help to respace and to use the space in a more dynamic way and a more smart way, I would say. And that's also what I see what you're doing at IRF. Which brings us to ITS being the glue, being the intelligence in the transport system. But it's not only about roads and vehicle, it is about this whole ecosystem that I'm actually walking through, literally walking and driving through with my members here in the European Union. This is a snapshot of all the projects that are running actually day to day now. They're projects dealing with CCAM, which is about connected mobility, cooperative mobility, such as CITS, so traffic signals that are talking to a car talking to another car, or a truck, or a van, or a bus. It's about urban mobility. Everything has to do with sustainable urban mobility plans, using of the space, using of low emission zones, digitizing information, making it more transparent. But it's also about transport and logistics. We still remember the COVID-19, it's not so long ago, when there was a problem of moving goods from one country, even in the same country, to another place. So with Europe and UNEC and all of you, we've created the green lanes, which made possible that goods could be moving from one area to another area. Without that, there would be no possibility to have decent quality of life, to still have shops delivered with the goods. Now, post-COVID, it's even more important because things are more and more growing into e-commerce, into reverse logistics. So that's a sector that we cannot really forget. And on the contrary, they're all really in the same boat, to be honest, here in Europe and in other regions, of course. This is a nice list of projects that we have finalized. Afterwards, you can click through and see everything that has to do with that. But it's all about clean, safe, smart mobility. Also, what we do to get innovation across the globe is make it happen through incubation of new things. Starting new things, such as automated valet parking. It is much more than just a car that is self-parking itself in a garage. No, it's about the physical infrastructure, about safety, about recognition of signage, recognition of even the quality of the painting in the tarmac, quality of the traffic signal, quality of the painting of the speed limit, for example. All this has an effect on the digital twin and the captation and the interpretation by a automated vehicle level 5 even. Yeah. Same goes for the updates of maps. TNITS is one of the standards in Europe that we manage, like DATEX2, for traffic management. And it's definitely, if you have a speed limit on your roads that you are building and supplying, this speed limit should be in real time. We have a problem with static information that remains static, while at the same time there is a dynamic, for example, temporary roadwork. Now, my HMI in the vehicle should be able to recognize directly online and actually in real time the variable speed limit, so that my car or other instrument can activate or deactivate a system. So that's another subject of data sharing online, data sharing in real time with the good data in the same protocols that we understand each other's language. This is also important for mobility as a service. And this is not a buzzword. Our Master Alliance that we started in Ertico is really delivering on actually say multimodality, going from one transport mode to another, a single journey for the customer. And that's about having single ticket, single booking, but also single payment. Still some work to do, but we're making really good progress. And so you asked me, Susanna, and your team, give us a bit of examples. Where do you see technology and digital into real practice? Well, with all our projects that we've done, I think we have more than 100 projects in the past already, even more, I think more than 500. It's about smartization of the physical infrastructure, but also the digital infrastructure. Do we need 5G? Yes, we do, for safety, latency, low latency, safety critical things. We need a better handover from cell networks from one country to another. And it's not about the second, it's about the millisecond in some cases. It is also about orchestration of traffic. Who will be the orchestrator of traffic management? Will it be the map providers? Will it be the road agencies? Will it be the vehicle business? Or will it be all together in a kind of mobility network management? That's exactly what we try to orchestrate within our Ertico partnership. So a lot of low-hanging fruit that I'm really wanting to bring over to you and also to the other regions in the world where we are in sync with ITS America and ITS Asia Pacific. On CCAM, needless to say that this is also helping decarbonization, prediction of traffic, prediction of occasional happenings, but also new services, not only safety related, but also commercial services. We see the same in IoT environments where data sharing is actually running. Ertico is moving to a European mobility data space that I'm having the luxury now with the European Commission to manage this data space with other partners of the consortium, where we actually will build a European topology of data so that it's not only about road traffic data, static and dynamic travel management, but also about asset management, for example, or about supply chain for vehicle production, or about insurance-related data for pay as you drive and pay how you drive. These kind of things are really crucial that we have one space that will be talking to each other in the same language to de-silo everything. The same for digital mobility services, supply chain, and so on. So all these are examples that you see on the slide, but actually we have some new tickets now, new reality, augmented reality, virtual reality. This is also part of the ecosystem. And finally, drones, eVTOLs, and air mobility, which is something that we in Ertico will also foster very quickly. So all these brings challenges, questions that you have, that we all have in this panel. Some of them are here on the slides. It's all about education, skills, digital divide, how to bridge the gap with all this. And actually, that's also why we are working together with you, Susanna and Anwar, and the whole team. Thank you for that. You will be in Istanbul a month later. I will be a month before you in Dubai. Happy to host you there with all your friends across the world, with RTA of Dubai, together with Ertico, ITS Europe. And in this, thank you again, Susanna and the team. And I will be with you for a couple of minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Joost. Quite a comprehensive presentation. You made us dream about the future with all this technology. But I'm very pleased actually that you mentioned some of other core elements of this conversation that we will bring forward during the panel. I need to stick within the time, so I'm happy if you can stay with us, Joost, but I want now to move from Europe to Latin America, because a different scenario, different settings here. I think Agustina Calatayud is online with us. Good morning to you, Agustina.
Good morning, good afternoon.
On the side of the world. Agustina is the head of transport research at the Inter-American Development Bank. I understand you're stepping in for Ana Maria, who had a last minute issue. Agustina, yes, we have been collaborating quite a bit recently, especially with the report, and I'm delighted to have you here so that we don't stay focused in Europe, but we bring as well the perspective from Latin America, a region that has maybe different needs from what we have heard so far. Agustina, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Susana. Thank you for inviting us to present today. I'm just going to share my presentation, which is here right now. So it's been a pleasure to collaborate with IRF during the process of elaborating this report that we released a few weeks ago. I would like, and this is the report for the people that are interested in learning more about the pathways to decarbonize and build climate resilience in Latin America and the Caribbean. It can also provide interesting conclusions and recommendations to other developing regions in the world. So I would like to frame my intervention in the context of this unprecedented challenge that the sector faces towards achieving the goals of the Paris Agreement by 2030. So as you all know, infrastructure and transportation services are fundamental for promoting more inclusive and sustainable societies. They provide access to markets and also opportunities of employment, healthcare, and education. By doing so, infrastructure transportation contributes to the reduction of poverty and inequality and improving the quality of life and also productivity in Latin America and the Caribbean. And this is important because we still have a huge gap to build in Latin America and the Caribbean regarding infrastructure deployment and quality. And that is in order to provide better services for our people. And this is important in the context of the Paris Agreement. So on the other hand, however, transportation brings challenges to our societies. In Latin America and the Caribbean, which is the most urbanized region in the developing world, hosts the cities with the highest number of road congestion globally, while the number of fatalities from road crashes remains unacceptably high. In particular, although Latin American countries only account for 8% of the global emissions, transportation in our region is
Agustina, I don't know if it's my problem, but we lost your microphone.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, you're back. Sorry.
Oh, okay. So I was saying that transportation, particularly road transportation, is a key agent in generating emissions in Latin America and the Caribbean. And these emissions have been growing rapidly for the past 3 decades, with road transportation the main one. In this figure, what you see is that our analysis suggests that in business as usual scenarios, emissions from the sector will increase by 17%, while in order to achieve the Paris Agreement goals, we need to reduce these emissions by 47%. In this context, the main challenge for Latin American countries is to promote more sustainable transportation systems to comply with the Paris Agreement, but at the same time, we need to close infrastructure gap and turn transportation into a catalyst for social inclusion and regional competitiveness. And this requires then a fundamental change in the way people and goods move in our region. At the IDB, we are committed in helping countries overcoming this challenge, and we are thus working with the region on three main areas that combine innovation and policy making. And the first one is innovation, which is the topic of this discussion today, to increase, to improve asset management and increase energy efficiency in road construction and maintenance. The project that we support across the region, for example, enhance institutional capacity to build road asset and emission inventories, for example, by deploying remote sensing and life cycle assessment tools. We also test new and low carbon materials that are also more resistant to extreme weather events, and therefore reduce the needs of maintenance. And we deploy video detection and artificial intelligence. For example, there is an open tool that we created that is called Pavimentados that help assess the state of the road network and identify the maintenance needs at a fraction of the time and cost of traditional methods. We also help in building up-to-date policy frameworks for the sector. We help countries update their plans to prioritize innovation and decarbonization as one of the main goals in the sector, and identify the projects and actions that are needed to achieve such goals. For example, in Colombia, the country that I'm based, we are supporting the development of a facility that will finance the replacement of old and more polluting trucking fleets for vehicles that are now more energy efficient, and also to replace light cargo vehicles for electric vehicles in urban settings. And the third one I would like to highlight today is that we help countries improve climate resilience to avoid network disruptions. Road transportation, particularly in our region, suffers from extreme weather events, and our analysis suggests that in the future they will be even more exposed to, at the same time, droughts and floods, extreme low and extreme high temperatures. So regular maintenance of our roads should be accompanied by strategies to make networks resilient by design. And for example, in our projects, we develop blue spot analysis to mitigate the risk of flooding under different conditions. So the challenges posed today by the acceleration of climate change require taking decisive actions that simultaneously lead to resilient road infrastructures, net zero emissions in the medium term, while closing the infrastructure gap in the region. But we also need to leverage the positive impacts on social inclusion and better quality. So I would like to close with saying that climate change is not something that we might see in the future, with the main region disrupting in our region by month due to flooding, isolating vulnerable communities and generating millions of dollars in losses. The time to act, and this is what we are suggesting our countries, our member countries, the time to act is now. And at the IDB, we are making this our top priority. Thank you, Susana, and the mic goes back to you.
Thank you so much, Agustina. The speakers are also being so disciplined, helping me to keep within the time. Thank you, Agustina. You brought to the table a perspective from another region of the world, of course, and climate is definitely the common denominator or the common challenge that we all have, and we appreciate the work that the bank is doing in terms of really policy regulation and the capacity building. So that's another element we're bringing to this conversation today. So technology, the policy, the regulatory, the capacity building. I thank you, Agustina, and allow me to move to the next speaker and to move to another region of the world. Placide, if you can turn on your camera and reach us to the stage, I hope he will manage to do so. With Placide, we will be moving to Africa to hear from Africa what innovation looks like in their perspective and what are the challenges they are facing. Placide, are you with us? We might have a problem. I take advantage of this technical problem while we'll wait for Placide to come to the stage, to remind you that you can use the chat. Maybe it was disabled before, but it's able now. You can use the chat to introduce yourself or share knowledge, share any piece of information, share links to reports and work that could be useful. That's the purpose of these events, is to really make sure that we talk to each other and we share expertise and knowledge. Use the question and answer function if you want to ask questions to the speakers. I think Placide is having some issues. No, there you are, Placide. Finally.
I'm here now.
So digitalization is great when it works. Thank you, Placide. The floor is all yours, and we're eager to hear the perspective from the African continent as well. Placide, let me introduce you correctly, is the Economic Affairs Officers from the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. Placide, you have the floor.
Thank you, Susanna. I'm going to deliver a statement on behalf of Robert Lissinge, who is the acting director of the Private Sector Development and Finance Division of the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed, dear colleagues, it is a privilege for me to participate in this IRF Annual Conference 2023. There was no better time to address innovation for better mobility systems than on this United Nations World Sustainable Transport Day. And this event demonstrates that the International Road Federation is a reliable partner. I am pleased to inform you that ECA celebrated the Sustainable Transport Day on the November 15th of 2023 with its member countries and sister organizations. We are also happy to collaborate with IRF on a variety of initiatives to improve and make road transportation more sustainable in Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, it is not my place to inform you that road transport is a key driver of economic and social development in Africa, creating opportunities for poor and for fostering competitive economies. Transport infrastructure connects people to jobs, education, and health services. Transport infrastructure facilitates distribution of products and services, as well as human interaction and the generation of solutions and knowledge that promote sustainable development. However, transport costs account for between 30 and 40% of the final price of commodities trade intra-Africa. The logistic costs can rise even higher, reaching 60% for landlocked countries. Transport is also one of the main contributors to pollution and climate disorders. Digitalization can play an important role in improving transport. Contrary to popular belief, Africa is experiencing significant advancement in the digitalization of transportation. Instances of these could be in phases, ranging from continental to the national level. Let me inform on a number of those initiatives. First, the Economic Commission for Africa has made digitalization in road safety a priority, aligning itself with the African strategic directions for the UN Decade of Road Safety from 2021 to 2030, adopted by the African Union. Innovative approaches aim to create new models, perspectives, methodologies, and much more. It is encouraging to see several African countries actively adopting these new technologies to improve road safety. Their effort to harness the potential of artificial intelligence and other innovative tools are paving the way for significant advancement and positive outcome in reducing roads accidents and saving lives. This was widely highlighted by the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa when we organized a continental workshop in September 2023 in Marrakesh, in sideline of the second Kofi Annan Road Safety Award, to discuss innovative digital methods and strengthen the capacities of our member countries. The criteria considered by ECA and its partners for the selection of candidate countries in the innovative category of the Kofi Annan Road Safety Award 2023 include impact on safety, creativity, efficiency, and sustainability. Despite the complexity of these criteria, several countries have distinguished themselves in accelerating the digitalization of their road safety systems. Côte d'Ivoire, for instance, has put in place electronic cameras and other systems to regulate the behavior of users and fight against the possibilities of corruption in the sector, while Cameroon, for example, has put in place a system for monitoring drivers in dirty. In Benin, we are witnessing an increasing digitization of that data collection and management system, while Rwanda has achieved complete digitalization of its implementation of speed limit rules and measures against other abnormal user behaviors. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, in 2022, the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa developed, in collaboration with the University of Sapienza in Rome, a methodology to improve the management of road assets through the use of satellite imagery and artificial intelligence. The process of developing a concrete tool to be used by corridor management institutions revealed notable progress at countries level in the process of digitalization of the road transport system. In Uganda, for instance, the road measurement and data acquisition system significantly improves the road data collection and analysis for a better decision, and automated traffic counting machines collect directional classified road and speed. The geographic information systems is used to perform the road and bridge inventory and monitor the performance. The use of drones is to inspect bridge is already a fact. In Tanzania, traffic control systems are implemented, and as well as load control systems with electronic payment systems. The same efforts are being made in Kenya, where the use of intelligent transport system is even increasing. Ladies and gentlemen, there are also many opportunities to digitize transport in Africa. Already, the continent's enormous infrastructure needs contribute to first opportunity for the private sector to invest in smart and climate-resilient infrastructure. According to the Africa Infrastructure Country Diagnostic Study, which examined the state of Africa's infrastructure, the financial needs of addressing Africa's infrastructure are estimated to be 93 billion US dollars a year per capita expenditure. Secondly, it has been estimated that the rate of access to mobile broadband in Africa will increase from 49% in 2020 to 61% in 2025. Internet penetration in Africa continues to improve on the continent, moving from less than 5% in 2005 to more than 41% in 2021, while the price of internet decreased for more than 1 point from 2021 to 2022 on the continent. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, let me end by highlighting the existence of political will marked by the African Digital Transformation Strategy of the African Union, the Program for the Development of Infrastructure in Africa, the Intergovernmental Agreement on Trans-African Highway Network in Africa. I thank you for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Placide. It seems like hearing you, definitely we have one thing in common on which all the speakers have agreed, that digitalization plays a key role independently of the region of the world where you are sitting, living, and operating. Thank you, Placide. I will move to the next speaker because we're now running a few minutes behind schedule. And it's my great pleasure to welcome to the stage Arianna Legovini. She should be with us. She was with us.
I am.
You are, Arianna. Maybe it's my connection.
You have to turn on my video. I cannot turn on my video.
Oh.
They're blocking me.
Oh, you're being blocked. Well, there you are. I think it's...
There I am.
There you are.
Thank you, Susanna.
Thank you to you, Arianna, for waiting. And I have to say to the audience, again, I'm telling you all my secrets today, the behind the scenes. I had the pleasure and the honor of meeting Arianna and her wonderful team in London just a month ago. And I have to say thank you to her and the division of the World Bank, the transport division of the World Bank, because that workshop was really a ball of fresh air in many different aspects. And I don't want to take away time because you have so many important things to share with us. So Arianna, I will immediately pass you the floor. Arianna Legovini is the director of the, I call it DIME. I don't know if you call it DIME.
Perfect.
The Development Impact at the World Bank. Arianna, the floor is all yours. Thank you.
Wonderful. Can you see my slide?
Yes, we can.
Yes. So today I'd like to talk to you about how we can transform development together, and especially the use of science in transforming the way transport investments deliver. And here is really a call for a change in the culture from an ideological culture. I know how to get to our destination, to a culture which is flexible and open, that puts our objectives very clearly forward, but takes a very humble approach to reaching those objectives, a kind of building new ways of thinking, enabling creative processes, and helping to reshape the very institutions that are responsible for these investments and securing a better future, our better and common future. What is the opportunity here? The opportunity is, you see the opportunity here is to a huge expansion in data from mobile, digital, and remote sensing investments. Now, in previously, that was our biggest constraint, but today the opportunity is really to use these data and extract economic value from them. And the scarcity that we are facing is really the research and technical resources to extract value from data. So this is what we devote our lives to. Now, for the last 20 years, we have piloted a new way of doing development that makes intensive use of data and real-time evidence to support the process of transformation. And today, the World Bank is incorporating this new technology and this new approach as part of its reform process. So this is really exciting for us. So what is this new technology? It really takes a much more programmatic approach, an adaptive approach that incorporates learning as part of its implementation. It focuses on flexible design, as I said, designs that allow for multiple ideas to coexist until such time as we understand which ideas work in practice. And it makes that intensive use of data and digital to provide what I call the GPS for development. You know where your destination is, but you need real-time information to get there efficiently and increase the impact over time. So what we have found out in the almost 20 years, that small investments in this data-intensive technology, which we call impact evaluation, trial and adopt technology, can increase the impact of our investments by more than 50%. So this is really high order, really huge returns to doing this right. And as part of our work, we work in all sectors and across the whole world. But in transport, we started a program in 2015 with multiple partners to measure the impact of transport investments, not just on commuting times and costs, but on economic-wide benefits. And we have made large investments in artificial intelligence and spatial data systems that integrate real-time data from digital, mobile, administrative data, etc., and develop new methods and tools to bring rigor to transport analysis. So how do I see this in two parts? The first is really to create the data ecosystems that are necessary to know in what and where to invest. And so just to give you a very quick example, when we are looking at the economic rate of returns of transport investment, we find that very few people are aware of the fact that road safety can change dramatically the rate of return of our transport investments. And you see here on the left chart that by changing the outcome of a road investment relative to whether or not it increases or decreases road safety and fatal crashes, we can go anywhere from 14% rates of returns to 48% rate of return. So what about road safety? I'll give you an example from Kenya, where we have invested in a high-frequency data system that brings in data at the minute to understand where the problem is and focus our attention to where it matters most. In this example, which has been scaled up to the whole country, we find, for example, that 40% of fatalities are only in 5 out of 47 counties in the country. And then only 5 roads in Nairobi County, which is the county with the highest level of mortality, represent 36% of all fatal crashes in that county. 5 roads. 50% of those fatalities are pedestrians, and 30% of fatal crashes happen just after sundown, in the 3 hours after sundown. This is amazing information. If you can imagine, you can see that in the map, that by focusing on 5 tracks of roads, we could actually lower mortality by 36%. Not only that, But of course, we are not doing this on our own, but building local capacities for local actors to actually being able to work with real-time data and make important decisions that can save people's lives, and so much more. In another example, in Ethiopia, we use historical data to understand the returns to road investments across the whole country and raise some important questions regarding efficiencies versus equity investments. In this case, we find that roads that were much more effective in increasing economic activity and urbanization, where that economic activity and urbanization was already taking place. And so the question is, for areas that do not see much movement, increasing the amount of road investment didn't seem to make a difference. And it raises important questions on policy. But knowing where to invest does not necessarily mean that we know what to invest in. And here a big call to actually be, again, humble and not have necessarily big priors, but understand that we can bring in innovations and test new ways of doing things and understanding which ideas work best, not in theory, but in practice. So in the case of Dar es Salaam, for example, on the bus rapid transit, we invested in causal analysis to understand that these investments do shift choices in terms of mode of transport by 36% margin, and also reduces travel time by about 28%. But we can do more than that. Investing in infrastructure does not necessarily mean people have access to it. And in a 2022 survey, 30% of respondents told us that someone, either themselves or someone in their family, could not attend their health visit because of the cost associated with transport. And in fact, we had conducted a large analysis building on 2.8 billion smart card records to understand how the 2017 government reform that lowered subsidies for transport affected the people who either lost the subsidy or for whom the subsidy was reduced. And here we see high frequency data showing that there was a 21% decline in weekly trips via public transport for those who have lost the subsidy. Even further, we can think about and use high frequency data to understand whether these type of investments improve air quality. In the case of Dakar, Senegal, we invested and deployed air quality monitors across the city to understand how the impact of construction and operations of the bus rapid transit. And as you can see in this chart, at baseline, there was a certain level of air pollution. And then during the construction phase, in the middle of the chart, we see a huge spike in pollution during the construction, and then after the construction, going back to baseline, but not a reduction in pollutions in the air, but rather a spike during the construction phase. We also invested in understanding whether transport could be a good venue through which young people, unskilled labor in the city could obtain a job in transport and transform their lives. And so we actually convinced the construction companies to randomly assign jobs to low-skilled workers, a huge demand of people demanding jobs, many more than the jobs available. And then as we were observing how these workers were behaving in the job place, we agreed with the company to try out some soft skill training to improve their performance at work. And those people who actually were randomly assigned to what we call conscientiousness training, teaching them to show up on time, and report if they're missing, et cetera, actually had huge results in terms of their likelihood to retain their job and also increasing their salary per month. And here I am concluding by saying very simply that the intensive use of data and rigorous evidence can help us reimagine the future of transport and mobility investments. Our data suggests that just building the roads, just doing those investments only take us half of the way in terms of rate of returns. But that if we invest in what I call the GPS of development, getting a lot more information in our hands and in the hands of the people who need to take decisions every day, we can get to our destination safely, more efficiently, and with much greater impact. Thank you, Susanna, for having me here.
Thank you so much, Arianna. I couldn't think of a better way to finish and end this opening session. I want to thank you and all the speakers that have contributed in laying down the foundations of what will be the conversation. We will be deep diving through the other sessions. Know that one member of the Arianna's team will be presenting tomorrow a specific case studies, a more in-depth presentation on what she has just introduced to us. The timing is not on our side, so I've already been biting 7 minutes from the next session. I want to thank all the speakers for really helping us shaping the conversation.